there are some dangerous aspects to credit default swaps, potential pitfalls that were kind of overlooked during the boom time when these things were being bought and sold very frequently. Because the market is unregulated, it's difficult to track them as to who ends up buying them or who ends up owning them for purposes of the obligations to pay in the event of a default. In one instance, for example, a hedge fund ended up with the obligation to pay UBS, which is the Swiss banking giant, in the event that UBS, its residential mortgage-backed securities that it was invested in, defaulted. And needless to say, this particular hedge fund did not have the money to pay UBS, and so there were obviously problems when the hedge fund itself defaulted on its obligations to pay. There's no, because of the fact that these defaults, the credit default swaps can be bought and sold so many times, and in fact, you can sell a credit default swap on the same security or the same corporation many, many times. The face value of a credit default swap or the total number of credit default swaps that are outstanding for a particular security can be many times the value of the underlying security itself. And that's, again, because the buyer doesn't need to have an interest in the security itself in order to purchase a credit default swap. So that's how we ended up with a situation where the market for credit default swaps, $50 trillion, is so many more times, more than twice as much as the total value of the U.S. stock market. There's no cap on how many credit default swaps one party can sell. There's also no requirement that the seller have adequate reserves or a surplus or cash to pay claims in the event that there is a default. So as long as you're willing to write credit default swaps and sell them, you can sell them, and there's no limit to how many you can sell or for how much you can sell them for or how much you can insure with them, which is what obviously led to AIG's downfall here. But the seller, in most cases, is required to post collateral if the underlying security's value or the seller's credit rating declines.